We have a Navy that had a blockade, and we could set that up again in about 15 minutes. I would say, Pete, one phone call. How long would it take? Maybe half hour?
They're ready to go.
After pulling combat jets from Israel, the U.S. now sends aerial refuelers back into the Gulf, raising fresh questions about its regional strategy. Are Trump's new sitting ducks in the Gulf giving Iran an advantage, as Tehran uses peace talks to lull Washington while U.S. tankers sit within range of missiles and drones? Have no lessons been learned, as the U.S. once again concentrates its vulnerable refueling fleet at Udeid Air Base despite past attacks? U.S. Air Force tankers have returned to Udeid Air Base in Qatar for the first time since Operation Epic Fury in February, marking a visible shift in American air operations in the region. Satellite imagery from June 22 showed at least 12 U.S. aerial refueling aircraft parked at the Qatari base, indicating a rapid buildup of tanker capacity. The tanker presence has surged from almost zero last week to around a dozen aircraft today, underscoring how quickly U.S. air power can be repositioned in the Gulf. The return of these aerial refuelers signals a renewed U.S. air power posture in the Gulf, enabling longer-range and more sustained missions across the region. This move came as President Trump warned that the United States could reinstate a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz within 15 minutes, if required.
Vice President Vance said that there are mechanisms in place to make sure that there's not escalations with the Strait of Hormuz and with Israel and Lebanon. Can you talk about what those mechanisms are, and are you in direct talks with the Supreme Leader, Moshe
look, here's the thing. As long as they respect us, I don't want to use the word fear, because that's an inappropriate word, but as long as they respect us, we're not going to have any trouble. We have total control of the Strait.
So the mechanism is
we have a Navy that had a blockade. I think the blockade was more impactful than dropping bombs, if you want to know the truth. It was like I said, they call it the steel wall. Nobody got through. Not one ship got through, able to go to Iran. They got through if we wanted them to go through. And we could set that up again in about 15 minutes. I would say, Pete, one phone call. How long would it take? Maybe half hour?
They're ready to go right now if you need to. Yes,
It'll be before we finish the meeting. No, we have, as long as they respect us, we're going to be fine. If they don't respect us, things wouldn't be good, but they have a lot of respect. Don't forget, we had presidents that should have done this for 47 years. Nobody did it. Obama gave them a road to a nuclear weapon. I gave them a wall against a nuclear. They can never, under this agreement, they'll never even think about building a nuclear weapon.
It also coincides with the U.S. beginning to scale back parts of its military presence in Israel, suggesting a recalibration of regional force deployment rather than a simple drawdown. Washington is set to relocate roughly 20% of its refueling and cargo aircraft currently stationed at Israel's Ben Gurion Airport, a move that reduces the visible U.S. footprint while still leaving substantial capability in place. This redeployment comes just as the U.S.-backed deal to end the Iran war appears to be taking shape, suggesting that American planners are recalibrating posture in anticipation of a new phase in regional security dynamics. Around 72 U.S. military aircraft are presently deployed at Israel's main international airport, forming a sizable logistical and support hub that has underpinned recent operations. Israel's Channel 12 has reported that nearly one-fifth of this U.S. aircraft fleet will be redeployed elsewhere, reinforcing the impression that Washington is easing back from its peak wartime configuration in the country. What began as a debate over the Iran Memorandum of Understanding is now exposing unusually public tensions between the United States and Israel, with the dispute spilling into open political rhetoric rather than remaining behind closed diplomatic doors. Vice President J.D. Vance's comments about Israel touched off a sharp rebuttal from one of the country's most outspoken ministers, turning a policy disagreement into a highly personal and very visible clash. Vance said that Israel cannot just kill its way out of its security problems, a blunt formulation that challenged the logic of purely military solutions and implicitly criticized advocates of an uncompromising hard power approach. He specifically named Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich as prominent critics of the Iran Memorandum, singling out two of Israel's most hardline figures as emblematic of resistance to the emerging peace framework. The escalating war of words was detailed in a June 18 report by the Times of Israel, which described how the argument had intensified and how it was being framed in both American and Israeli political discourse. In a rare direct appeal, Ben-Gvir turned to X and wrote in English, addressing U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance by name in an attempt to speak over traditional diplomatic channels and rally public opinion. Ben-Gvir wrote, "This is the proposal, to deal with the Nazis of the 21st century," invoking a stark historical analogy to argue for a much more aggressive approach toward Iran and its proxies. His remarks deliberately evoked Second World War comparisons, dramatically escalating the rhetoric and underscoring just how charged and emotional the dispute over the Iran deal has become. Vance, for his part, pressed Israel to spell out exactly what its proposal would be to ensure long-term security, effectively challenging hardliners to move beyond slogans and articulate a realistic alternative strategy. The exchange has highlighted a widening gap between the United States' more pragmatic, diplomacy plus deterrence posture and Israel's hardline view that only relentless pressure and force can guarantee safety. All of this debate is unfolding as regional actors and Washington move into the 60-day negotiation window created by the memorandum, a period in which words on both sides could shape or strain the prospects for a final agreement.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.